Good day and Assalamualaikum to all students. So today we will continue our class via video recording. So I hope everyone can, as usual, put their attendance so that I know how many students have viewed my video. Today's topic is on establishing project scope. Okay. What is project scope? Project scope is, by definition, it is the end results of a mission of the project or a product or service for the clients or customer in a specific, tangible, and measurable terms. The purpose of scope statement is to clearly define the deliverables for the end user, to focus the project on successful completion of its goals, to be used by the project owner and participants as a planning tool, and to measure the project success. There are at least 5 steps when you define a project. So the first step is defining the project scope itself, then establishing the project priorities, creating the work breakdown structure, integrating the work breakdown structure WBS with the organization, and lastly, coding the WBS for the information system. The first step, defining the project scope. Project scope, as mentioned before, it is by definition, it is the end result of a mission of the project or a product or service for the client or customer in the specific, tangible, and measurable terms. The purpose of the scope statement is to clearly define the deliverables for the end user, to focus the project on successful completion of its goals, to be used by the project owner and participants for planning tool, and for measuring the success of the project. Project scope checklist, there are 6 steps. Number 1 is to define the project objectives, defining the deliverables, second step. The third step is defining the milestones. Next, to define the technical requirements, and then identify the limits and the exclusion. And the sixth one, which is having review from the customers. We move on to the project scope terms and conditions. The scope statements, also called statements of work (SOW), and then project charter can obtain an expanded version of the scope statement, which is a document authorizing the project manager to initiate and lead the project. The project creep is the tendency for the project scope to expand over time due to the changing requirements, specifications, and priorities. The second step is establishing project priorities. So these are based on the causes of the project trade-offs, shifts in the relative importance of criterions related to cost, time, and performance parameters. So therefore we need to define project cost, schedule time, and performance scope. Okay. Then managing the priorities of the project trade-offs includes identifying the constraint, which is the parameter is a fixed requirement, enhance the optimizing a parameter over others, and also accept or reduce or not meeting a parameter requirement. The third step is to create the work breakdown structure, WBS. This WBS actually is a hierarchical outline or a map that identifies the product and work elements involved in a project. It also defines the relationship of the final deliverable or the project to its sub-deliverables, and in turn their relationship to work packages. It is best suited for the design and build projects that are tangible outcomes rather than process-oriented projects. Okay, the question is how WBS helps the project manager? Well, WBS actually can facilitate evaluation of cost, time, and technical performance of the organization of a project. It also can provide management with information appropriate to each organizational level. It helps in the development of the organization breakdown structure, OBS, which assigns project responsibilities to organizational units and individuals. It helps manage plan, schedule, and also budget. It defines communication channels and assists in coordinating the various project elements. Well, let's have a look at an example of WBS. Again, a WBS is a hierarchical breakdown of a list of deliverables. So we define, you can see here, we have level, we identified number level 1 to 5 here. And the hierarchical breakdown consists of the project, the deliverable, sub-deliverables, lowest sub-deliverable, cost account, and work package. And each level will have the description of the task. For example, the project is actually the complete project. The deliverable is major deliverables. Sub-deliverables are the supporting deliverables. The lowest sub-deliverables are the lowest management responsibility level, where cost account and work package consists of grouping of work package for monitoring progress and responsibility, and also identify work activities. Another example of WBS, here we have a group of personal prototype. We have in level 1, level 1 is the project title. In level 2, we have deliverables, vendor software applications, mouse, keyboard, voice, and so on. And then level 3, we have systems under each of the first layer of the deliverables. And then at the bottom here, we have the lowest manageable sub-deliverables. Moving on to work package. A work package is the lowest level of work breakdown structure, WBS. It is output oriented in that it defines the work, actually what are the works, and it also identifies time to complete a work package in terms of duration or how long it will take to complete the work. And then it identifies a time phase budget to complete a work package, including the cost. It identifies the resources needed to complete a work package, meaning that how much are required, how much resources, how many people. And then it identifies a single person responsible for units of work. It identifies monitoring points or the milestones for measurable success. Moving on to the step 4 of defining a project is integrating the WBS with the organizations. So in the process, we need to identify, we need to have an organizational breakdown structure, OBS, inside the process of the WBS itself. This OBS is actually depicts how the firm is organized to discharge its work responsibility for a project. It provides a framework to summarize organizational work unit performance. It identifies organization units responsible for work packages, and also it ties the organizational units to cost control accounts. Okay, this is an example of integration of WBS and the OBS. WBS is work breakdown structure, whereas OBS is organizational breakdown structure. So here we have personal computer prototype project, and we have the WBS, and at the bottom here we have OBS. So the OBS is more on the resources or human resource organizations breakdown. Okay, direct labor budget sorted by WBS. So we have to identify level, and we have to identify the coding or the codes for each deliverables. For example, here for a project of software project, we must have the hard drive, motor purchasing, circuit board design, chassis frame, production, read and write, design, production, testing. So each of these activities or the deliverables is associated with a direct labor budget. Okay, for the direct labor budget sorted by OBS, organizational breakdown structure, we identify each level with a specific task. For example, here the first level we have design, second level is production, testing, purchasing, software, and then the total. Then because we are talking about the budgeting based on the OBS, so we identify based on the organization breakdown. But also it has the budget for each of the level, similar to work breakdown. The only difference between OBS and WBS is the WBS is general organizational, general hierarchical organization of the project. But for OBS, you have to clearly define the organization of the project itself. Okay, the last step, which is step number 5 of the defining a project, is the coding the WBS for the information system. So when we want to code the WBS, we need to define the levels and elements of the WBS. And then we need to organize the elements and then specify the work packages and also the budget and cost information. So this WBS allows report to be consolidated at any level in the organizational structure. Here is an example of the WBS coding itself. So here you see we have the ID of the level of the WBS 1 until 20. For each of the level, we associate a code. So 1 is computer project, the title of the project itself. 1.1 these storage units, then 1.1.1 floppy, 1.1.2, 1.1.3, and so on. So each level will code. So these are called coding, WBS coding. For the work package estimates, we have a, form of that you need to fill. For example, work package descriptions. What are the name of the work package, the ID of the work package, the deliverable, the original unit, and then the duration of the work package, and then it must have a table of labor cost, total labor, direct labor, and details of the costing or the budget associated with that work package itself. Okay, the last part, the project roll-up, is the cost consists of cost account. This is actually the intersection of the WBS and the OBS itself. And this intersection is the budgetary control point for work packages. It provides to roll up or to summation of cost incurred over time by a work package across the organizational units and levels and by deliverables. Let's have a look at an example of the WBS and OBS. You can see here the roll up for the project. We have at the bottom is the OBS itself, at the top here is the WBS. So you can see here the total budget for cost account work package budget is here 150, 150, and total of 300. So this is an example of roll-up, budget roll-up. Now we move on to process breakdown structure. It is actually process-oriented projects that are driven by performance requirements in which the final outcome is the product of a series of steps or phases in which one phase affects the next phase. For process breakdown structure, PBS, it defines the deliverables as outputs required to move to the next phase. So for this, we need to have checklists for managing the PBS. So these should include deliverables needed to exit one phase and begin the next phase. Also, for quality checkpoints for complete and accurate deliverables, and also a sign off by responsible stakeholders to monitor the progress of the project. This is an example of PBS for software project development. So on top here we have the work breakdown structure, WBS. We have project title, software development project, and then the first layer, major phase, consists of analysis, design, construct, test, and rollout. Then we'll have the second level activities, which is define user interface, develop technical design, establish quality requirements, develop detailed design, and the third level of activities, define application architecture, define process flow, design logical database structure, design system interface. And the outputs are consisting of design phase deliverables, which consists of design document, application architecture, applications flow, database design, and user interface design, workflow diagram itself, and also user documentation outline. We have described about work packages. Each work packages must have responsibility. So now we will talk on responsibility matrix. So these responsibility matrices are also called a linear responsibility chart. It summarizes the task to be accomplished and who is responsible for what on the project. So this responsibility matrix also will list out project activities and the participants, clarifies the critical interfaces between units and individuals that need coordination. It provides the means for all participants to view their responsibilities and agree on their assignments. It also clarifies the extent or type of authority that can be associated by each participant. Okay, this is an example of association between scheduling milestones and responsibility matrix. Okay, on top here we have schedule or Gantt chart of a project, and associated with that must have the responsibility matrix, where in the responsibility matrix we have a project team. We identify the task and the personnel who are responsible, what are they responsible, and the role, whether support only or full responsibility. And these are associated with this Gantt chart, so that the objective of project management is to make sure the deliverables can be achieved within a specified time. So that's why responsibility matrix is very important. So it must be associated with the Gantt chart. To monitor the performance of the project, we need to use some tools. So the tools used to catch negative variance from the plan and communicate project schedule status. Okay, we can track and baseline Gantt charts. We can identify and show the expected, the actual, and the trend data for event duration and performance. We use control charts for plot the difference in scheduled time on the critical path with the actual point on the critical path also. About critical path, we will learn in another session. Okay. So monitoring a project is also vital because we do not want the project deviate timeline. So if we target the project to be completed in a certain duration, for example, project should be completed within 6 months. So we have to monitor the project deliverables can be achieved. So we always keep on track by looking at the baseline Gantt charts, and we can use control charts and check whether the project can finish within the 6 month timeline that we have planned.